According to scientific forecasts, human society is on track for a collapse within the next 2 decades unless there is a significant shift in global priorities. The collapse is expected to be triggered by a scarcity of natural resources, leading to a halt in economic growth, a sharp decline in living standards, and disruptions to trade, supply chains, and political stability. The report warns that the collapse would not mark the end of the human race, but rather a societal turning point characterized by a dramatic decline in basic needs and security. Historical precedents suggest that civilizations do not last forever, and recent trends indicate that our society is reaching an irreversible turning point, with the downfall of major institutions and infrastructures accelerating each year. Without further ado, here are 20 signs that the collapse of society is accelerating. 20. The global food crisis has reached alarming proportions in recent years. According to the Global Network Against Food Crises, a joint project of the United Nations and the European Union, the total number of people facing acute food insecurity and requiring urgent food assistance has nearly doubled since 2016. This staggering increase in the scale of the challenge is deeply concerning, as it represents a rise of 40 million people, or a 20% surge just within the past year alone. 19. The gravity of the situation is further underscored by the estimates provided by the World Food Programme. The organization projects that a staggering 49 million people will face emergency levels of hunger in 2023. This dire scenario is compounded by the fact that, even at this very moment, approximately 811 million individuals go to bed hungry each night, unable to access the basic sustenance required for a healthy and dignified existence. The exponential growth in the number of people facing acute food insecurity is a testament to the complex and multifaceted nature of the global food crisis. Factors such as conflict, climate change, economic upheaval, and the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic have all converged to create a perfect storm, pushing millions more people into the depths of hunger and food scarcity. 18. The 2023 to 2024 global energy crisis has led to the most severe energy supply shortages the world has seen in the last 5 decades. This crisis is having a particularly acute impact on countries in Europe and Asia, but its effects are being felt across the globe. At the moment, energy shortages are being reported in major economic powerhouses like China, India, and the United States, as well as in European nations such as Germany, France, the United Kingdom, and Spain. Smaller countries like Vietnam, South Korea, Belgium, Greece, and Moldova are also grappling with crippling energy supply issues. The reasons behind this global energy crunch are multifaceted. The COVID-19 pandemic disrupted supply chains and energy production, while the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war has severely limited natural gas and oil exports from Russia, a key global energy supplier. Additionally, the world's transition towards cleaner, renewable energy sources has not kept pace with the rising demand for electricity, leading to shortfalls in traditional fossil fuel-based energy generation. As a result, countries are being forced to ration energy, leading to rolling blackouts, factory shutdowns, and a steep rise in energy prices that is squeezing both businesses and households. 17. Meanwhile, the devastating impact of climate change continues to loom large, with the World Bank warning that it could push an additional 100 million people into extreme poverty by the year 2030. This would undo much of the hard-won progress made in recent decades to lift people out of poverty and improve living standards globally. The effects of global warming, such as more frequent and intense natural disasters, disruptions to agricultural production, and the spread of infectious diseases, are disproportionately affecting the world's poorest communities, further entrenching the cycle of poverty and making it increasingly difficult for them to access basic necessities like food, clean water, and reliable energy sources. The converging crises of the global energy shortage and the escalating impacts of climate change pose a grave threat to global stability and development. Policymakers and global leaders must urgently collaborate to find sustainable, long-term solutions that address both the immediate energy supply challenges and the looming climate crisis in order to ensure a more secure and equitable future for all. 16. In the United States, an alarming 44. 38% of the entire national territory and 53.02% of the lower 48 states are experiencing severe drought conditions in 2023. This crisis has been exacerbated by the fact that the last 2 years have seen temperatures more than 2 degrees Fahrenheit or 1.1 degrees Celsius warmer than normal across these affected regions. The situation is even more dire in large swathes of the American Southwest, where temperatures have soared more than 3 degrees Fahrenheit or 1.7 degrees Celsius above average. Disturbingly, scientific studies suggest that the Southwest's ongoing 20-year drought is the most severe the region has faced in at least 200 years, based on an analysis of how exceptionally dry the soils have become. This protracted drought, driven by the impacts of human-caused climate change, is placing immense strain on the region's already scarce water resources. 15. Compounding this crisis, a new study released in the prestigious AGU journal Earth's Future has found that due to such extreme drought conditions becoming more frequent and widespread, agricultural water scarcity is expected to increase in more than 80% of the world's croplands by the year 2050. This portends grave consequences for global food security, as crop yields are projected to decline precipitously in many of the world's most productive agricultural regions. The study's findings underscore the urgent need for comprehensive international efforts to address the root causes of climate change and implement resilient, sustainable agricultural practices that can withstand the escalating water scarcity challenges of the coming decades. Failure to act decisively will jeopardize the livelihoods of millions of farmers and potentially leave hundreds of millions of people worldwide facing the specter of food insecurity and hunger. 14. Today, the global landscape is marked by a stark contrast, where the majority of the world's population grapples with the harsh realities of poverty. Roughly 85% of the global population, amounting to nearly 6.5 billion people, live on less than $30 per day, struggling to meet their basic needs. This staggering figure underscores the vast inequalities that persist across the world, where a significant portion of humanity is deprived of the most fundamental resources required for a decent standard of living. To put this into perspective, 2/3 of the global population, or approximately 5 billion people, live on less than $10 per day, a figure that is incomprehensible for those in the developed world. At the most extreme end of the spectrum, every 10th person, equating to roughly 760 million individuals, ekes out an existence on less than $1.90 per day, a level of deprivation that is difficult for many to fathom. 13. Compounding the woes of the world's poor, the global economy is currently being battered by soaring prices, which are devastating the purchasing power of the vast majority of people around the world. In fact, a staggering 60% of the advanced economies in the world now have inflation rates that exceed 5%, while in more than half of the developing world, inflation has surged beyond 7%. This relentless rise in the cost of living is eroding the meager incomes of the world's poor, forcing them to make difficult choices between basic necessities such as food, shelter, and healthcare. The combined impact of widespread poverty, and spiraling inflation has created a perfect storm of economic hardship, leaving countless individuals and families grappling with the harsh realities of a global crisis that shows no signs of abating. 12. The world is currently facing a critical shortage of essential raw materials and commodities as the demand for these vital resources continues to skyrocket. Unfortunately, nature's capacity to produce these materials is declining, and the industry's ability to process them is also being strained. This grim reality is highlighted by the alarming data from the world mineral production, which reveals that raw material shortages have increased by a staggering 76% over the past 2 years, impacting a staggering 91% of industries across the global supply chain. This crisis has far-reaching consequences, as the dwindling availability of these crucial resources threatens the stability and growth of the global economy. Businesses and consumers alike are feeling the pinch, as the scarcity of raw materials drives up prices and disrupts the smooth flow of goods and services around the world. This concerning trend suggests that the world may be reaching a critical point where economic growth could sharply decline if immediate and decisive action is not taken to address this looming crisis. 11. The vast disparity between the rapid expansion of industry and the soaring population shows no signs of abating. If the current population growth rate of 1.3% annually persists, global agricultural production would need to surge by an astonishing 70% from present levels to satisfy the skyrocketing food demand over the next 3 decades. Farmers and food producers will face immense pressure to cultivate more land, boost crop yields, and distribute their bounty across the increasingly crowded world. The sheer scale of this challenge threatens to overwhelm the world's resources and food distribution systems unless bold, innovative solutions are swiftly implemented. 10. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization has reported a concerning trend over the past 5 years. Food production has been steadily declining in 51 developing countries around the world. This is deeply troubling news, as it suggests that many vulnerable populations are facing dwindling food supplies. To compound this issue, the ongoing conflict in Ukraine is now threatening to spark a widespread global food crisis. Experts project that grain production in the region will plummet by a staggering 35% this year alone, which could have devastating ripple effects on food availability and prices worldwide. With food security already precarious in many parts of the globe, this looming crisis poses a grave threat to the well-being of millions of people. 9. The agency's comprehensive report reveals a concerning picture of our warming planet. In 2023, the average global temperatures soared an alarming 1.76 degrees Fahrenheit or 0.98 degrees Celsius above the 20th century baseline, making it the second hottest year on record. Shockingly, July 2023 set a new high, with global temperatures exceeding any previous July since record-keeping began, a sobering milestone that underscores the unprecedented nature of the climate crisis. The report further highlights the grave consequences of even a modest rise in global temperatures. For every 1 degree Celsius increase, wheat yields plummet by a staggering 6%, while rice production declines by a devastating 10%. These drastic drops in crop yields translate to widespread undernutrition and food insecurity, imperiling the livelihoods and well-being of vulnerable populations worldwide. 8. According to the data compiled by Express UK, the world is in a state of unrest, with only a small fraction of countries managing to avoid any form of conflict in the past 12 months. Out of the 197 countries and territories across the globe, a mere 23 have been spared the ravages of battles, civil strife, explosions, riots, demonstrations, and strategic developments. This means that the overwhelming majority, a staggering 174 countries, have been embroiled in some kind of conflict or upheaval during this period, ranging from violent clashes to political turmoil and military operations. The world, it seems, is a canvas of unrest, with only a handful of nations finding respite from the turbulence that has gripped the majority of the global community. 7. In addition, a staggering 84% of land-based ecosystems are currently under threat from intense weather conditions. Powerful and unpredictable storms, scorching wildfires, devastating floods, and crippling droughts are becoming increasingly common occurrences. These extreme weather patterns have the potential to forcibly uproot more than 200 million people around the world by the middle of the 21st century. Lush forests, sprawling grasslands, and fertile farmlands are being ravaged by these intensifying natural disasters, displacing countless species of plants and animals and disrupting the delicate balance of these vital terrestrial habitats. 6. The researchers meticulously examined a diverse array of 10 crucial factors, encompassing population statistics, fertility patterns, pollution levels, food production capabilities, and industrial output. Their comprehensive analysis revealed a startling alignment between the current trajectory of society and the societal collapse scenario proposed back in 1972. The data paints a vivid picture of a world teetering on the edge of a profound and potentially devastating collapse as the interconnected systems that sustain our civilization show alarming signs of strain and imbalance. The implications of this finding are deeply troubling, demanding urgent action and a profound rethinking of how we manage the complex web of human activities that shape the future of our planet. 5. The air we breathe is filled with harmful contaminants that pose a grave threat to our well-being. Air pollution is the primary environmental risk factor affecting global health, exacting a staggering economic toll of approximately $8.1 trillion in 2023, which equates to a staggering 6.1% of the world's total economic output. The devastating consequences of this invisible menace are painfully tangible, as it claims the lives of a staggering 7 million individuals annually. In fact, air pollution is directly responsible for 1 out of every 10 deaths worldwide, a truly alarming statistic that underscores the urgency of addressing this pressing environmental crisis. 4. The global economy is currently facing a significant slowdown in 2023, a troubling trend that has prompted analysts at Morgan Stanley to revise their global gross domestic product forecast downwards by a staggering 170 basis points over the past 3 months. This dramatic decline has raised serious concerns, as the risks of further economic deceleration loom large. Adding to this bleak outlook, it appears that the world may soon face another looming health crisis. The monkeypox outbreak, which was first confirmed in the Western world on May the 7th, has now spread rapidly, with more than 80 cases reported in 12 different countries in less than 3 weeks. This rapid proliferation of the virus should serve as a grave warning as the number of suspected cases continues to rise, threatening to escalate into a full-blown public health emergency. In the face of this impending societal apocalypse, it is the poorest and most vulnerable members of society who will likely bear the brunt of the impact, as is often the case. While the wealthiest may find themselves somewhat insulated from the immediate consequences, the devastating effects of this multifaceted crisis will undoubtedly reverberate throughout the global community, posing a grave challenge to the well-being and prosperity of people everywhere. 3. The Earth's surface has been steadily losing its lush greenery over the past 2 decades, with around 20% of the planet's vegetated areas becoming less vibrant and productive. This concerning trend is expected to accelerate in the coming years, as the world's ability to grow food is compromised by humanity's failure to safeguard the diverse array of plant and animal life that sustains our ecosystems. Vast swathes of once thriving landscapes have become dull and barren, their once verdant foliage giving way to dry, lifeless soil. This gradual degradation of the Earth's natural resources threatens the delicate balance that allows us to cultivate the nourishing crops and sustain the delicate web of life that we depend on. As this alarming decline continues, the world's capacity to produce the food necessary to feed a growing population is in jeopardy, a dire consequence of our collective neglect of the biodiversity that is essential for the health and vitality of our shared home. 2. According to the latest projections from International Monetary Fund, IMF researchers, the global production growth is expected to decline by 2.4% this year. This significant slowdown in the global manufacturing sector is primarily attributed to a severe shortage of essential materials, disruptions in energy supplies, and the mounting challenges posed by climate change. The manufacturing hubs around the world are grappling with a scarcity of crucial raw materials and components, hampering their ability to meet the growing demand. Additionally, the ongoing energy crisis, marked by limited access to reliable and affordable energy sources, is further exacerbating the challenges faced by the global manufacturing industry. Furthermore, the adverse effects of climate change, including extreme weather events, droughts, and other environmental issues, are causing widespread disruptions in supply chains and production processes, ultimately contributing to the projected decline in global production growth. 1. The entire world is currently experiencing one of the most severe energy emergencies since the 1970s. According to data provided by the World Economic Forum, there is a significant strain on fossil fuels such as oil, gas, and coal due to excessive consumption. This overwhelming demand for fossil fuels is then putting immense pressure on our planet's precious water and oxygen resources by causing widespread air pollution. The skies are filled with thick, choking clouds of harmful fumes and particles, obscuring the sun's rays and making it harder for us to breathe clean, rejuvenating air. The situation has become increasingly dire as our over-reliance on finite fossil fuel reserves is depleting these natural resources at an unsustainable rate, jeopardizing the delicate balance of our environment.